Alright YouTube, what's up? This is your boy Alex, and I'm trying to find my best to find a nice spot because my usual spot's been taken. Now this is going to be another sex game video, and this one's going to be for guys that are sexually frustrated that want an answer for their problem. It's going to be called Sex Game, Hot Sex with Hot Teachers. Now I'm going to put an age on when this takes place. So let's start with the basics. High school. Remember, if we take a time machine and we go back to a time period when you were getting rejected by beautiful, attractive women in high school, the most popular girls would never talk to you. The most popular girls would give you fake phone numbers, fake email addresses, and they did not find you physically sexually attractive. And you would get rejected 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. Hell, by the end of the school semester, you probably got rejected anywhere between 50 to 100 times in just 1 year. But in 4 years of high school, that could be like almost 200 rejections, depending on how persistent you was at trying to talk to popular girls. All the popular girls that you found physically sexually attractive, whether they were black women, white women, or Mexican women, or Asian women, or women from foreign countries, you got rejected by them. But every time you went to class in high school, you always found out that you were talking to some women that were in their physical prime. Why the popular girls kept messing with the basketball players, the football players, the baseball players, the guys on the soccer team, the track team, and of course the gang members, the drug dealers, while they're messing with all of those people, you always had the beautiful, attractive white girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, big-breasted white girl that was probably 24, 25 years old as your high school teacher. And sometimes you would intentionally on purpose get in trouble just so you can have detention to see her. And you did. Now, what I'm about to tell you is 99.99% accurate. Now just bear with me because I'm filming this on location and it's a Sunday. I'm doing an 8-hour shift and a lot of people are bringing their family and their kids out, and I don't want them to hear the content of this video because, you know, we don't want YouTube to be thinking we're doing something funny when it's adult content for mature adult audiences, if you know what I mean. So if I walk back and forth, it's for safety precautions. You know, if I had got to my secret spot, which there ain't no secret spots for me to go to, you will know why I'm walking back and forth. And by the way, this will probably be one of the times I work on a Sunday on an 8-hour shift like this. Now, most of the teachers that you have a crush on, now, a lot of the pickup artists and a lot of the dating coaches, about 85 to 90% of the time, most of the pickup artists and dating coaches, they're never going to tell you this information because it defeats the purpose of you paying $300, $500, or anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 in a 2.5-hour, 3.5-hour seminar for this information. Most of the women that are 24, 25, 26, all the way up to 34 years of age in high school, if they're high school teachers or teachers' aides, a lot of them are what they call undercover freaks. That means these girls, once upon a time, were supermodels. They were fitness models once upon a time. A lot of these girls are strippers. A lot of these girls had sex with the basketball players and the football players at the college level, at the pro level, when they were 18, 19, 20. And these girls are still in their physical prime. So the appropriate age of having a crush on a teacher in high school would be, you know, 24. Around 24 is if they graduate from college all 4 years. But the appropriate age, the maturity age, is 25 years old. There are cases where you have a crush on your high school teacher because she's 25, she's 26, she's 27 years old. And you be thinking, well, I got rejected by a girl on the cheerleading team, on the dance team, and I can't get at these chicks because they're into basketball players, football players, baseball players. They're into drug dealers. They're into gangbangers. And you getting rejected because you're not one of the popular kids. You're not popular. So naturally you feel like you've been excluded, and 99.99% you have. And that goes on for 4 years in high school. But what you'll find out is you're messing with a woman that's in her sexual prime. You're messing with a woman that's got ass, that's got titties. You know, you're going to find the teacher physically, sexually attractive. And guess what? Only on the East Coast, I would say it happens more on the East Coast than on the West Coast. See, on the West Coast, you know, the news media gets a hold of the story and they just magnify it and blow it out of proportion 10 times and over-exaggerate the story. Oh, the girl's a sexual predator, she's a monster, and how could she take advantage of this kid? And, you know, it's just hypocrisy. Because if it was a man, if it was a male teacher that done that, he loses his job immediately and he can't find work for the next 30 years. Or he goes to prison for 30 years to life without the possibility of parole. But if it's a beautiful, attractive white woman or black woman or Mexican woman, and she's 24, 25 years old, and she finds one of her high school students physically, sexually attractive, whether he's playing basketball, football, or baseball, then it's okay. And usually, a lot of times, you know, they'll put a slap on the wrist. So that's the hypocrisy. But the sex, oh man, the sex is incredible. I mean, because they'll experience this in the classroom when you're having detention. And a lot of times the guys like it because they get free lunch and free dinner with those opportunities. A lot of times you might be wondering how that kid get free lunch or free dinner when everyone else has money in the classroom. You know, and here's this teacher buying him lunch and buying him dinner. But because he's almost 18, he understands what having sex is. He understands what losing your virginity is. And you'll be surprised that 90% of the time it's not always a basketball player or a football player or a baseball player or a guy on the track team that is getting the action from the teacher. It's usually a guy who is sexually frustrated, who's angry and mad at the world, and he's the one that's getting the action. And usually this is a result of not having no experience. And he gets some experience because he's getting it from a woman that's in her prime. You know, so why the basketball players, the football players, and the baseball players, the track star, and the soccer player are getting with the most popular girls. The guys that don't play sports, that are socially awkward and they don't have good social skills, they lose their virginity to a hot teacher. And usually the teacher is around 24, 25, 26, 27 years old when she is still in her physical prime. And the only time the popular girls pay attention to guys that don't ever get hot chicks is when you ask out the teacher to the dance. And they're trying to figure out what is he doing with a 24, 25, or 26-year-old white woman or black woman or Mexican woman that's either a teacher or a teacher's aide. And then he gets the best sexual experience because no one's paying him no attention. So he goes from not having no experience with women to having all of the experience with women. He gets to have the sex that is being depicted and described in movies and television shows. And then sometimes the guys that play basketball and football might actually show him some respect because he did something that they could not accomplish. He got to smash a teacher. So men like it, but women on the other hand might cringe and go date somebody your own age. And a lot of these 18, 19-year-old girls in high school don't realize that from age 18 to 29, that is your whole entire prime. So the age limit in high school, if you have a crush on your teacher, it's if you finish college in 4 years, then the person would be 24 years old. But most of the time, it's from age 25 to 34 years old. There are cases where the girl is 30, and that's where you develop a crush on older women. Remember in my YouTube video about sex with older women? Usually if the woman's 30, 35, and you're a young 17, 18-year-old guy in high school, you already developed a crush on older women. So by the time you graduate high school and going into college, you're already experienced with women because of that. But it happens 60% on the East Coast, and here on the West Coast, it's kept hush-hush. You know, they don't want no one to find that out if it goes on. Where there's a lot of corruption in a lot of high schools, it takes place. Same thing if you're talking about your major university colleges, like UCLA College, USC. You know, back in the late 70s, early 80s is where it first started and originated. You know, if you take the 8 hours of your regular 9 to 5 job and you just take those 8 hours that you're in school, well, it's the same system. You know, that person's working there for 8 hours. You know, she can't see her husband or her boyfriend. And when she sees a guy with six-pack abs that plays basketball and football, then she finds that man physically, sexually attractive. And that's where the hot sex in the classroom or in the office takes place. And a lot of these teachers are freaks. So naturally, if you're in college, the age limit would change. You know, because if it's college, you're going to get someone that's much more older. You're going to get someone that's like 35, maybe 40, maybe 50. And if you're fresh out of high school into college, again, that's where your crush of older women develop. And then, you know, there are stories of guys who take acting classes, drama classes. They're not good at playing basketball, football, baseball, and they take an acting class, and usually the teacher might be, you know, from London, England, or from Great Britain, or from Germany, or from Russia, or Paris, France, or some country like that with a heavy accent. And that man finds that woman physically, sexually attractive, and next thing you know, he starts hitting on the teacher, and the teacher starts saying stuff like, well, I'm a little bit more older than you with more experience. And usually this guy is probably 23, 24, 25 years old in college, and basically, you know, he's, you know, he can, you know, that's where it starts. You know, and then of course in that situation, again, they'll buy you lunch, they'll buy you dinner. And again, people in the classroom will be trying to figure out how is this guy getting free lunch and free dinner, and why is he spending, instead of an hour in class, why is he spending 2 to 3 hours in class with the teacher? You know, and usually that's where, you know, the highest level of people in high school, in college, not high school, but in college catch on to what you're doing. And usually you can get into a lot of trouble. That's when you get these college scandals. You only hear one college scandal, and that is in sports. You know, the coach in basketball and football did some illegal stuff, but why there's scandals taking place in college basketball and college football, guess what happens? You got teachers in college that do scandals, but because they're women, nothing bad happens to them. Whether it was a male teacher, like let's say it's a college teacher that's probably 35 or 40 years old. He'll get fired and lose his job in 5 to 10 years of being a teacher at a college, at a major university, because he had sex with a woman that's from the age of 18 to 27. And he'll lose his job because of it. But you get a woman that's 35, 40, 45, 50 years old, and she messes with basketball players and football players in college, she don't lose her job. And the reason for that is because it's a woman. So some people say it's a bit biased and sexist system when it comes to college. And again, most of the men don't complain, because if they can't get the most popular girl in high school and college, they usually resort to this. And that's why I made those videos on my YouTube channels, so you can understand why this stuff happens. I mean, you'd be surprised. A lot of these teachers in college, like I said, they are some freaks. I mean, there are some freaks in the bedroom. You'd be surprised what a lot of these women were before they became teachers. A lot of them were strippers. A lot of them were former Hollywood actresses in television and film. A lot of them were supermodels, fitness models. A lot of them can speak 5 to 10 different languages, and they used to travel the world. And when you get to college, you be trying to figure out how your English teacher know how to speak almost 10 to 15 different languages, and you be trying to figure out how come she know everything there is to know about stuff. Because once upon a time when she was 18, 19, 20, she was sneaking out of class in high school and ditched high school to go chase after the basketball players and the football players once upon a time when she was young. So it's a little bit different in college compared to high school. High school, it's kept hush-hush under wraps, where in college, it's more out in the open. And if you got enough money and enough power, you can make anything be quiet and disappear. And history has proven that 10 times over. I mean, they'll do stuff like have sex in the classroom, they'll have sex in the restroom, they'll do it out in the hallway, they'll even go as far as to screw in the car, and it ain't just the girls that are 18, 19, 20 that'll take it out to the football field. The teachers will even go as far as to do it on the football field. And if they're really, really, really in the mood, if you go to a college to have a water pool, then yeah, they'll have fun. They'll have fun at the water pool. And then there's if the teacher in college has a crush on basketball players, she want to have sex up in the bleachers or do it on the basketball court. If the teacher has a crush on college football players in college, then she wants to have sex on the football field. So women that are teachers, when they're in college, whether the woman's in her 30s, 40s, or 50s, there are some freaks. Like, they will do things that only get talked about on the internet or you've heard stories of. And usually there'll be at least 7 individuals that know this woman does this type of behavior, like the principal, the assistant principal, the vice president, the president of the school. They know her nighttime activities, but they keep it to themselves. And at any given moment, they could fire that person for misconduct and strange behavior. And a lot of times, if it's a guy on the basketball team or on the football team, they usually don't do anything about it, because if they're about to win a championship in the city, if they're going to the Pac-10 or the Final Four, and we're going to the championship game in college basketball or in college football, that's used as motivation for college basketball players and college football players to win championships. If it's a city championship, college football game, or a championship city for the basketball game, if it's a state championship, that's used as motivation. So you got the principal, the vice principal, the president, the vice president. Those are just 4 people that know this stuff takes place. The basketball coach and the football coach would be the next 2 individuals that know about this but keep it to themselves. They'll pay the basketball coach or the college coach anywhere from $10,000 to almost $15,000 to keep their mouth closed. Like, that's my top superstar. He's the leader of the basketball team, or he's the leader of the football team. We're supposed to win college basketball games or college football games, and they keep it hush-hush. So that would be, the principal, the vice principal, the president, the vice president, that's 4. The college basketball coach, the football coach, so that makes it 4, 5, 6, that's 6. And then the 7th person who might actually know about it is college campus police. Because, if it's nighttime, they might send a police car to drive on college campus to make sure there's nobody out after hours. And usually they have a flashlight, and they turn on the car lights for more light if they need it, and they basically check the perimeter to see if there's any unusual activity. And every now and then they might see a familiar face and go, that's the English teacher, or that's the math teacher, or that's the science teacher. What's she doing out at nighttime with a college football player or a college basketball player? And usually they have to, you know, tell that police officer, you know, it's a one-time thing. Don't go back and tell no one. So usually those are the 7 people who know about it, but they keep their mouth shut. And that might go on for 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years before it gets made public, and then it gets out into the news media. So 60% of the time, it happens on the East Coast. When it does happen on the West Coast, it's usually just cut down to 4 people. You know, the principal, the vice principal, the president, and the vice president. Them might be the only 4 people, if we're on the West Coast of college, that might know that information. Even if you take a music class, you have cases where the college student has probably fell in the class, and the teacher tell that person, if you want a better grade, I guess we could make an exception, and usually blackmail comes up. That student does what he's asked, and that person passes the class with the best grade. And sometimes your friends in high school and college might crack jokes and say, man, I think he sucking up to the teacher to get the best grade. And usually, if behind closed doors, you get to see the politics of what happens in high school and college. Like I said, guys will give you respect for it. Women, on the other hand, will kind of, you know, cringe and roll their eyes at you for doing it. I'm just making the video because some guys do have crushes and want to know what are the ages of it. And sometimes you can go to a gym like 24-Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, and run into your teacher from college. And your teacher do have sexual fantasies. And when they are working for 8 hours or 15 hours or 20 hours, they don't get to see their husband or their boyfriend. And that's how cheating takes place. That's when they start cheating on their husband, or they start cheating on their boyfriend with the basketball player or the football player. But that's if it's college. If it's high school, usually the basketball player and the football player wants to date the cheerleader. So the teacher is going to go to the guy that's not popular. If it's high school, if it's college, it's going to be the complete reverse. It's going to be that guy plays basketball or football. So, and usually that's how guys with no experience get experience. That's how guys go from not scoring to scoring, and you do know what scoring is. And usually that raises your status as a man going from high school to college. And then Hollywood hears about those scandals and turns that into movies and television shows and documentaries because it's a hot topic. And then the porn industry, or should I say the adult entertainment industry, gets a hold of it, and they make porno parodies of, I had sex with my teacher and she's 40 years old, or she's 50 or 60 years old. And in foreign countries, the teacher could be 50 or 60 years old, and no one cares in foreign countries because it's a normal thing. Here in America, people turn it into a movie or a television show. It could be, I had sex with the teacher meets 9210. Or it could be, I had sex with my teacher meets the Avengers, or something like that. So those are the age limit. So when guys are sexually frustrated, a lot of times you might, I'm telling you, it happens more in college than it happens in high school. Now in high school, there are cases where the teacher, if it's a woman, can lose her job. Usually they'll do it in secret. I'll resign. Where in college, you'll always hear the principal, vice principal, president and vice president, the basketball coach and the football coach, and you'll even hear the police say, we're all adults here. No harm, no foul. We're all adults. We're all mature adults. We all saw what we saw. We can keep it to ourselves. We ain't got to tell the whole world. That's if it's college. On the East Coast, compare on the West Coast. On the West Coast, you know, they got to make an example out of someone. But, okay, it's been 5 years, 10 years. It dies down. Nobody knows that we're still doing this behavior. And then it starts right back up. And it's the same thing in the job world, which I will make a completely separated YouTube video called What Happens If My Boss is a woman who's 35, 40, 45, and she's doing the same thing but is in the job. I'll explain what that's about. But in this video, I call it Sex Game, Sex, Hot Sex with a Hot Teacher, guys who have crushes on their teacher in high school and college, and what are the age ranges. So I hope you like this YouTube video, because I'm on my lunch break, or should I say what's left of my lunch break, and it'll be time to go back to work because I have an 8-hour shift. And I'll upload this video onto both YouTube channels. But it does happen more on the East Coast than on the West Coast. So that's another way that you can have sex with young, attractive women that's in their prime. If you want the hot, attractive teacher, it has to be high school. If it's college, you're going to get older women. But guys have fetishes for their teacher, so I'm just trying to explain to you how this works. You know, these are videos on my old channel. They're getting remade over with some new information, new bonus material. So until next time, peace.